Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last episode, we discussed about formatter and we talked about the XML model. In today's session, we'll go ahead and discuss about the flip exercise, dynamic binding using JavaScript code, and we will also talk about the resource model. So let's get started our session. What we have done by far, we created a table control with an aggregation binding. We created a couple of input fields with property binding, and we are also moving the data from the table control row selection to the input fields using element bindings. These are all the three things which we have majorly achieved in terms of binding. We have seen all the four types of bindings, which is property binding, aggregation binding, expression binding, and element binding. And you can see the data is moving here. In last class, I've given an exercise to flip the model between the XML and JSON. Now guys, interesting point was, which we observed in the last session, that XML data is always having a repeated set of rows. Because of this repeated set of rows, we have a binding change. You can see the XML binding was done with /emp tab /row. However, when it comes to the JSON model, there was no need for extra /row. Now on click of a switch, if you would like to switch the data in the table, you have to also switch this binding dynamically. Yeah, so this binding we had statically done with the JSON like this, and if we statically do it with the XML model, we have to do like this. So every time the switch is clicked, this binding should change with /emp tab and /emp tab /row, vice versa when you click on the switch button. So right now it is hard coded here with the rows aggregation. We can achieve this dynamic binding with the help of bind rows method of a table. As I mentioned, that whenever we have a aggregation with a UI control, we will probably have a bind row method, bind aggregate name or bind property name method. For example, there is a text property. There will be a bind text method for this property to be able to change this binding dynamically using JavaScript code. So let us go ahead and see how can that be achieved. So first, let's add a first of all, let's add a switch control as usual. So I'll just go back to the and let's add a switch control. And let's use onBind change method implementation in the controller. And here we can just write the code. So what we have to do is we will just say if, and I can this time use the change property of the switch control. So I can use event object. I can say var change equals to event object dot get parameter. And here the parameter name was state parameter for the switch. And now I can say changed. The state of switch is true, else. So if the state of switch is true, switch it to the JSON model binding. By default, the state of the switch will be off. The moment user make it on, switch it to the JSON binding. For that, now let's get the table control object. Let's search for table control. The table control, and now we are just comparing. If it is equals to true, then we just say table bind rows. Please bind my table rows with /emp tab, else please bind my table with slash emp tab slash pro. Plus, another important point, guys, if you observe carefully, we have also created two models. They are two different named models. One is for JSON, which is acting as a default model, and one is XML, which is overriding the JSON model. So now there has to be a clear distinction between both of these models. So which concept do we use? Anybody to have a clear distinction between these two models? Which concept we use? If we have two models, which concept do we use? Perfect answer. Ramana has got it right. We have to use named model. So let's give the name of our model. The above model, I will call it as alternate. Okay, that's the name. So now what we have to do, we have to also flip the model, which is very important. Not just change the binding, but also flip the models also. So let's do the flipping of model. So let's get here both the models. Var o model equals to start get view, or you can also say get core, SAP UI get core. You got the default model first of all, and for alt model get model, and we getting alternate models. So we got both the models, and now we're gonna flip these models easily. So we got both the model objects, and now it's time to flip the model. So let's change the model. I would say set model, and I am making alternate model as a default model, and then the another model which we have as an alternate model I am making. Hope it is clear. Every time it comes, it flips. Yeah. Imagine this code every time runs, it flips, guys. Alternate model flips to default, and next time again this code runs, the default becomes again alternate. So like this, it will keep flipping it blindly every time switch is pressed. This model code is getting executed, and the moment it happens, you will see based on the switch, your binding is also changing. Yeah, that's the beauty. This was the exercise. This was just hardly 5 to 10 minutes of work, which many of you could not complete. There must be some problem either in Anubhav or in your learning, or you're not giving time to subject. You have to give time to subject, guys. It will become problem for you. What was so difficult in this? It was very straightforward. Step 1, read the state of the switch. Step 2, get the object of the table. Step 3, flip the models between JSON every time. And step 4, based on switch state, change the binding for table dynamically. If it is XML model which is becoming default, make it slash embed tab slash row, else make it slash embed tab which is for JSON. That's it. Let's come back and watch out what's going on in the system. So let's reload the application. If everything goes well, our application would load. Yeah, there you go. And this is the second switch. You watch out here on the top. The data is Rebecca, Marcus, Matthias. I will just make it on. Voila! Can you see? It is changed to Robert, Ned, Stark, Tyrion, Jeffrey, and Alia. Wow, what an amazing stuff, guys. That's your flip model exercise. Oops, when I go back, it's not flipping back to the XML model, and it doesn't work actually. It's just working sometimes, so sometimes it's not working. There is something wrong. There is probably something wrong which is causing this, or at least first time we saw it flipped. So there's a bug. Press F12, you're gonna get to know if there is an issue in the code. Let's go to console and check. It doesn't look like any issue in the console. Okay, it's loading up, it's a little slow. You can see blank is of type string expected of enabled property for element. Which field it's expecting for input. Okay, it's again expecting a boolean property for this input field somewhere and expected a boolean property for enable. So this could be the reason why this one is failing up. You can always see here the stack trace, how the whole thing is coming up. So I think the reason is in the system there is somewhere some code is flopping. Because of that, this error is coming. So I have to check for ID my XML ID input field. Which is this input field? Now guys, our code is absolutely correct. That could be because of that reason. I just showed you in the console there's an unexpected error. Because of that, system is having an issue. Okay. Because of that, we are having an issue. So now you see, right now it's Rebecca Marcus. I switch it on and you can see the values are popping up properly. So at least one switch is working fine. The second switch again, when we're doing, we are having an issue. Which means from this model to this model, the switch is working fine. The moment you're switching it back to the employee tab row for XML model, it's having an issue. Okay, there's something wrong with it. We have to check. So I'm not sure. We have to see what could have gone wrong here. Let me just check the input field object, which is this input field object causing the issue. It is this one. This input field is causing an issue. And I got it. You see, this is an enabled property which should come from emp str. And for XML model, we don't have an emp str at the moment. Because of this emp str missing in XML view, okay, system is not expecting it and it's throwing an issue. So let me remove this for time being. And also below here, these are all the issues. Okay, this one looks good because there is an expression binding. So if employee name is not blank, it's going to send it true for this particular element. So that was probably the culprit. I will save this. There's an error also. Invalid attribute content. Element parse error. Why this is giving an element parse error? I think somewhere it's giving. I'm not sure. Invalid attribute content. Slash content is missing. I don't know. Yeah, here. Okay, I got it. You see this our switch. It has produced some syntax error. And now it's gone. Let's run this now. Can switch refresh. Initially, the data from the uh, XML model pops up onto the UI. And when I flip the model, the data from the JSON model pops up. Let's flip. And now you see the data from JSON. Flip it back. And you see, guys, it's perfectly fine. That was the culprit. It was there something in the console. That culprit we have removed because in XML we don't have a alia property which is influencing the enabled and change property for the input field, the one which was coming in the console, and now it's absolutely working fine. I hope this is how you should have completed the exercise, but only one person sent me the exercise. Guys, passing is not important. Always coming top is not important. Trying is important. For me, it doesn't matter whether you success or fail. For me, it matters Did you try? Did you give a try? Remember, guys, your children are watching you. Your kids are watching you. Is my mama, is my dad completing his or her work or not? They will become like you. They will become like you, absolutely like you. Whatever you're doing, your children are watching you. If you are not doing hard work, all the time sitting on the sofa, watching TV and WhatsApp, your children will also become like you. But if you doing hard work, if you showing commitment, if you are doing study hard, they will see to you, they will look up to you, and you will become their idol. And that's how you grow. And that's how they will also start studying. They will have the same thing in their habits. This is what absolutely happens around the corner in the world, in no matter what culture you are. The kids and children, they look up to you. If you are leaving your work incomplete, if you are not working hard enough, your children will also become like this. Many of us, they spend lot of time working on the children, sending them different classes, dropping them out to school, picking them up. Lot of things we do. But what we do is what they will imitate. If you are not doing hard work, they will also, no matter what you do, they will not do hard work. So guys, you have to have this habit of learning in you first, and then you can put it in your kids. Coming back, let's go in, and now we will go ahead and discuss about the resource binding, the last model, the resource model. In fact, there is nothing like resource binding. We have something called resource model. Let's talk about resource model. Actually, this concept comes from the internationalization technique. What is internationalization technique? Internationalization, let's talk about. Most of the companies, they are having their footprint across the globe. They are multinational companies using SAP as their preferred software. Now, when such a software is delivered across the world, it's always required to support different languages. Yeah. So internationalization. This is called internationalization. Software which can support multiple languages. It is also called multilingual support. Okay. So how do you support multiple languages? Suppose your audience is in Japan, China, India, Russia, Romania, different places, and they understand different languages. Currently, the default language with which you are coding is in English language, and you should have a way to be able to provide support for your audiences in different languages. So for that reason, we have a concept of resource model. Model is a need for every application to support the software in different language. All the messages, texts, I would say labels, titles, button text will be translated to supported languages. Now, for that to happen, for translation to be supported, we must need a mechanism to store translated text in different languages and pick the correct language at runtime automatically. So the second part is done by UI5. SAP UI5 will automatically do this for you based on log sorry, based on logon language. System will automatically pick up the right language file. So what you have to do, guys, there are two important rules here. Try to understand that not all the time you can do everything. It's not in your control. The system scale is so big. There are two roles here in the company. The first role is a developer role. What is the job of the developer here in this case? A developer's role is to enable language support by implementing the resource model and binding all the labels with the model texts. This is the job of a developer. Our job. This is we. It's we. Okay. Now there's another guy who is a language expert. They are called KM, knowledge managers. KM, or some people also call them author. KM author. They are the people whose job is to enable the translation or from English or from the desired language to foreign language. Okay. So this is what exactly we want. So like for example, just in ni hao in Chinese means hello, and ni hao in Punjabi means I don't want. Okay. So like this, there is a difference in language. Every language has its own pronunciation. So you will not be the best person to do the translation. That's why there's a separate job profile in every company who takes care of the translation part. This is not our job, but sometimes due to budget constraints in a company, you may not have this guy. So you may take use of Google Translator to be able to translate the texts. Okay, you can use that. So let's go ahead and see first as a developer what we're supposed to do. Without the developer support, it's impossible for KM to continue. Okay, so as a good developer, you should always and always make sure that you do this. You have to implement a resource model. So what do? We have to follow the naming convention, and we have to now give all our language specific text into a separate file called i18n file. Okay, that's called internationalization technique. So let's come back and now create a new folder and choose i18n. And inside this i18n, we will create a new file, i18n.properties. There you go. We have created this. And now here inside this, we are going to write our labels. So whatever labels you have given hard coded as part of your view, you are now going to give them over there in i18n file, group them all together. Typically, we follow naming convention, guys, to be able to do that. Okay, we follow naming convention. So this is a good practice to create a naming convention, but we can't do that here because right now we don't have a manifest JSON file. The day we have a manifest JSON file, we can actually give it automatic, but right now we have to write it manually. So xlbl for labels, xbit for titles, xbut for button. Like this, we have to use these prefixes to tell what exactly these things is. How do I learn this? I learned it by looking at standard UI5 applications delivered by SAP. If you have a labels, it should start with xlbl. So let's create labels for employee number, xlbl. Next label for employee name, xlbl salary. Then we will just create x labels. So salary, some case smoker. The values also, let's put employee number, employee name, salary, currency, and So we have employee number, salary, currency, marital status. Then we have rating. We have, and what else we have? Let's go to UI. So these are all complete. So we have these things which are absolutely looks okay. This also looks okay. And then we want to this attach function and kill me. These two things I want. So let's go ahead and give them attach function and kill me. Two labels are there. So I can have this as my button labels. So xbeauty underscore attach and xbeauty underscore km kill me. So this is all we have written now as a IIT9. Now watch out guys, it won't come automatically. You have to do little bit of effort. You have to go ahead and create a resource model first of all using this file IIT9.properties. Guys, the file name can be anything. The folder name and the file name can be anything of your choice. But the good practice is the good practice is always use I89. Okay. That's a standard practice. That's why I am keeping the file name as this. Okay. Let's put gender also. Yeah, we missed that. When you miss something, what will happen maximum? The translation won't happen for that field if you miss out something. Okay. So impact is the translation won't happen. So let's put all these things together. And now it's time to go ahead and see how can we create a resource model and achieve this. So let's go back to base controller. And of course your models.js where you can instantiate this resource model now. So go inside and I can say create resource model. That's our third and last client side model. So var is absolutely same steps. Absolutely same steps. So that's an extra thing. Together with resource model, when you're creating resource model, you can directly give the bundle URL. You can say, hey, this is my folder, this is my file from where you have to pick all the labels. This is the default file. This is the file from where please pick all the resources, all the texts for the resource model. Okay. That's what we are giving bundle URL property while creating resource model object. Let's declare the dependency on the top. Missed it. Let's put in the dependency on the top resource model. And now we create a resource model, just an extra stuff. We have given the path where exactly my resources are placed. This is the file. Please pick the labels from there. Now the model object is created. Just got to return that. Return O model. It's time to invoke this. We, as usual, do it in the base controller. So go to the base controller and here we are setting up all our models. Together with that, let's create the resource models object. And now set this model at the entire application level. ये हमेशा आएगा. Resource model is not something which you will ignore. You will always keep it and keep the name as I18. So this is a standard practice because every application should have resource model, guys, so that you can in future support translation of the texts. Clear everybody? The steps to create a resource model and resource file which contains all the necessary text of choice. Now let us go back and bind it with this I89 named model everywhere. So let's do the binding. I go back to the view where we have all the UI elements and we're going to connect it with our resource model binding. So in the view, you can see everywhere, wherever we have labels, you see here employee number, we're going to change it, curly braces, I-18N, arrow. This is how we are doing binding. And now guys, XLBL underscore EMP number, we're binding with employee number. Next is this one, employee name. Let me use this one because most of the places this one is used. And e name. Then we have employee salary, so this will also go away and just put it salary. Then we have currency, let's put currency. Let's put gender. Everywhere wherever you have labels, replace it with I-18N. And marital status. And then we have rating. Then here also we have employee ID, employee name, we have employee salary. Just replacing it with the binding of my resource model. All the labels of your app are going to now change. And then comes is your magic button. What is this here? Attach. And then this is X button label. Attach. Let me just check. I forgot EWT and KM. Correct. So then we have here kill me and XBUT underscore KM. Here everybody, are all of you clear how we created step by step, line by line, every single line of code? We created first a resource model. We created first an I-18N folder and all the labels we have put inside there. And then we created a resource model in the models.js file, the method to create a resource model object, returning the model object. And then we have gone to the base controller and instantiated model object and set this as a named model. This is the name of the model called I-18N, like Ola, Alternate and I-18N. Because at a time only one default model can exist. And whenever you use named model, let me show you in the previous classes, I have already covered this point. There's a question in the chat window about arrow also, why you use arrow. Guys, if you remember in the slide number 56, if you watch my class carefully, I have explained this. Whenever you have a named model, you have to use name of the model, arrow symbol to indicate that I'm binding with this model, name of the model and address property. Is that clear, everyone? Is that clear to everyone? What am I doing? Why am I doing what am I doing? Why I used arrow? This is covered in slide number 56. You forgot the concept. That's why I say please take a print of this PPT and carry with you. Slowly, you will start forgetting these concepts. Slowly. You will not remember when your mind have forgot this. Okay? And then you'll say after a year, अरे यार कोई अनुभव करके ट्रेनर था जिससे कुछ सीखा था मैंने UI5 बट भूल गया हूँ. 70% of you will do like that. I have seen in my career by far 500 plus developers, architect, associate developers, trainees, junior developers, senior developers, principal developers, managers. I have seen all of them. जोश में लर्निंग स्टार्ट करते हैं ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. आफ्टर सम टाइम दे डोंट डू हार्ड वर्क, कुछ थोड़ा सा एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट और मांगती है लर्निंग, वो नहीं देते हैं. एंड देन दे से अरे यार एक अनुभव बोल के ट्रेनर था, 1 साल पहले किया था UI5, अभी कुछ याद नहीं है. Very difficult, guys. Very difficult if you not follow the sessions regularly, if you're not reading it properly daily. You have to take a print of this PPT. Just 3 days back, I taught this concept and you have forgot. Just 3 days back. That's what will happen. Imagine what will happen after 6 months. Just 3 days back, we discussed this and you forgot. What will happen after 6 months? Impossible to remember anything. That's why please take a print of the PPT, carry with you and read in free time. Okay, that's I89 model and that's the reason we had put it here I89 arrow. And then we are saying, okay, please pick it from the I89 and then your text identifiers as per the I89 file. We have attached it. Let's come back and see the magic. You see, it's coming as EMP and no. But in our text file now, we have given employee number, right? So if my model works correctly, these labels will properly change. Refresh. If our model is working fine, we will see all the data will pop up here properly. That's what will happen. Let's refresh. I think this effect is taking too much of time actually for system to load. I will just comment out for time being over the effect which we had created for the table control. It's actually taking too much of time in initial loading. I'm commenting it out. And now you see guys, properly your label is changed to employee number. This is what exactly the label I have given in I89 file. ये देखो attach भी आ गया यहाँ पे. Yeah. This is what exactly we have done. Are you guys clear? Now some people also thinking, can we translate this data? Guys, data comes from an ERP system, your ECC system. And in ECC system, any ABAPer in the room, which concept do we use to translate data? Anybody? In ABAP, what is the concept? This is a core ABAP question I asked to fresher who comes for ABAP interview. This is a core ABAP question I asked to a fresher who comes for core ABAP interview. What concept do we have in SAP? For table data, I'm asking. I'm not asking text data. I'm not asking SO10, which is to translate the text message class and texts. Perfect. Abhijit has got it right. It is text table concept. Perfect, Abhijit. You are absolutely right. We use something called text table in SAP Core ABAP to be able to translate the data in SAP system. Thank you, Abhijit, for that answer. That's what we do. So data will not be translated by the I89. Only the labels will be translated. And now our job is complete. अगर हम ये नहीं करते तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता था. This guy cannot start his or her work if we don't do this. So our job is complete. Is that clear, everybody? What is that a developer supposed to do? That's what is done. Now, we are engineers. We can do even anybody else's job also. Suppose in a company there is a resource crunch, there is no budget to hire KM. In that case, we would probably want to go ahead and do it ourselves. Okay, the translation. Suppose now my software is going to get released for Indian audience, and especially some parts of the India people are not comfortable with English. Okay, so there is a large group of people who are comfortable with Hindi language. So that is why I want to see how can I translate now my entire application in Hindi. Yeah, do you believe it? This Fury application or this UI5 application runs into Hindi language. Do you believe it? You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Watch out, in a minute we will do it. So every language in this world has a code. Okay, it's called language code. Can anybody guess what is the language code for German language? Anyone? You might have used it majority of the time by logging to SAP system. Perfect answer. It's DE. DE is German language code. E, right? Similarly, we have English language code EN, right? We have for Japan, it's JP. Like that, we have different language codes for different countries. So one language code we have is for Hindi is Chai. Chai means Hindi language. Clear, everybody? HI means Hindi language. That's the language code for Hindi language. So now we have to do what? Imagine your KM now. So you have to remember the language code and make a copy of this file and paste it again in the same folder. Okay. What am I doing? I am making a copy of this file Now I'm pasting this file in the same folder one more time. Clear everybody? System gives a naming conflict, that's okay. And I'll say I18N underscore language code. Guys, this is the naming convention you must follow. You must follow that, otherwise it won't work. You must follow underscore language code. Are you all clear, guys? What should be your file name for a particular language? What should be your file name? You must follow this naming convention, otherwise the things will not work. So underscore the language code. What is that I'm translating to? Hindi language. So underscore HI. Is that clear everybody? Underscore HI Hindi language. Is that clear everybody? Underscore HI Hindi language. That's what you have to do. Click on OK. Copy हो गया. हो गया copy? Let's close all these things. They will confuse you. If you keep many things open, they will confuse you. So let's go to only Hindi language file. Now you see this is Hindi language file. The default file is above. This is Hindi language file. Now it's time to use Google Translator to translate this. So I'm going to go back and I'll say, hey, Google Translator, can you help me translating English to Hindi? And let's come back. We will translate this to Hindi language now. So watch out. First, let's pick up the employee number. Any guess? कोई है हिंदी मीडियम से यहाँ पे? Anybody from Hindi medium? Please raise your hand. If you are from Hindi medium, any guess what will you translate, Sri Devi? Hindi medium. Anybody from Hindi medium till 12th class? What will be naam? Karamchari ka naam. Okay, that's Karamchari ka naam. Let's come back. I'm from Hindi medium. Till 12th class, I studied in Hindi medium. It's Karamchari Sankhya. Wow, Raj. I think you have translated already in Google, Raj. So let's put that up. Copy that text and paste it here. Okay, you see it's coming up. Next, employee name. Karamchari ka naam. Copy that. Paste it here. And then comes his salary. Vetan. Salary is Vetan. Then comes smoker. Dhumrupan nahi karne wala. Something is not proper, but yeah, let's just put it. Then gender. Let's paste it over there. Let's put currency. It's mudra. Demonetization, in Hindi channels, news channels, they were saying Vimudrikaran. What a complicated Hindi. It's not an easy language to learn easily. Okay, Vimudrikaran. When I just went into engineering days, I was from Hindi medium, and we used to say the capacitor in English, right? And there we used to say parallel plate capacitor. In Hindi, we say something completely different. Okay, it's called Samantar Pat Sancharale. Okay, that's what called capacitor in Hindi. Samantar Pat Sancharale. That's what is capacitor. Parallel plate capacitor is called in Hindi. Very very difficult to understand and learn. Okay, and for me it was very challenging. In my first year of engineering, I always used to have that feeling of Tare Zameen Pe where the alphabets are flying. It was very very difficult for a Hindi medium student to get into English medium first year. Sometimes I couldn't even understand what my teacher is saying. Do you believe or not? It's so difficult. Sometimes I couldn't even understand what my teacher is asking because I was first time I saw English medium. Okay, so that is the state I was into, guys. From there to here, you could imagine how much hard work I've done. Hard work is the key for success. Let's use rating. Okay, it's rating only. It's coming as rating. Google itself also unable to say something for rating. And then let's use attach. And then we have kill me. Mujhe maro. मुझे मार डालो. Okay, cool. Save this up. Nice, guys. Superb. This is funny. Okay, now we've got all the data in Hindi. I've seen one example where one of my student, he has developed a software for local Tamilian users, and he has translated the entire software, entire Fury app in Tamil language just by using this Tamil language file. That's the beauty, guys. And the entire Fury app now runs in mobile in Tamil language, guys. That's the beauty. Great experience what user get when you translate. Okay, now coming back, we will execute this, but how do you test it, guys? How do you enforce the UI5 application to now, instead of using default file, pick up the Hindi language? How do you enforce the UI5? It's very easy. Let's go back. And now on the top, we are going to put ampersand SAP hyphen language parameter. Ampersand SAP hyphen UI hyphen language. That's the parameter name you have to put. SAP hyphen UI hyphen language equals to the language code. What is the language code for Hindi? Just now we saw. Anybody? What is the language code for Hindi? It's HI, right? So just put on the top HI. Now watch out the magic. The UI5 framework understand it very well. It goes and it search for a file I89 underscore HI in the system. The moment it finds the file, it is going to pick up all the labels from I89 from there. And as a result of that, you would see your entire application feels like it will get translated to the corresponding language. So that's what exactly happens behind the scenes. Based on this language parameter, SAP UI5 framework at runtime loads the corresponding language specific file, and voila, can you see, guys, here it has got all the data loaded, all the labels loaded in Hindi language. You can translate your application to any language you like, guys. And you see, guys, the switch, you see switch was on off. This was a default translation which you got by nature, because this was something switch on and off label was coming from UI5. UI5 has already translated this switch to Hindi language automatically based on language code. Okay, so some of the labels naturally comes from UI5. You don't have to take care of it. The framework gives you. Mujhe maar dalo. Okay, wow, that's a red color button. Can you see that? That's how we can translate application to any language you love. Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam. We are a diverse country. We have lots of languages and lots of regions and religions. So we are a very diverse country. Somebody can really go ahead and translate the language, um, translate the text to the desired language. Okay, so that's how we can translate the text into different languages using SAP UI5. Now somebody will saying, Anubhav, will user go and put this URL parameter in the URL? Guys, do you think your end user, your business user who is using software, do they know that there is a parameter which they have to set? Anyone? Do you think your users would know? No, they will not know, guys. So how will they get the language then? How will they get this language set? So guys, the entry point, one most important concept, the entry point for all your Fury application. Any guess? What is the entry point for all your Fury applications in SAP world? It's called Fury Launchpad, guys. We are not covering Launchpad in this course. Just to but show you a glimpse of the Launchpad, how does it look like? The entry point for entire Fury application, all the Fury apps in your company is Launchpad. And this Launchpad gives a logon screen to user. How does this screen look like? Let's go back and check out a screenshot. I would say Fury Launchpad logon screen. Yeah. Let's come to images. And you can see, guys, the first image itself, it shows you a logon screen for Fury Launchpad. Let me copy this image and put it in our PPT. There you go. Can you see, guys, in this login screen which Launchpad shows, there is a language field. Do you see there is a language field here or not? Anyone? Do you see this language field here or not in the Fiori Launchpad, right? So this is a drop down. Typically, user choose a drop down and choose the desired language. And then the moment user clicks on logon button, SAP Fiori Launchpad automatically puts URL parameter in the browser. It automatically does behind the scene. So for end user and you yourself, it's a seamless experience. Neither you nor the end user manually should put the language parameter in the URL. User won't even know कि system ने ऐसा किया है. Okay, so this is how the language will be supported. Is that clear, everybody? How the language parameter will get set when a user is executing. This is an interview question. One of my students was asked, how do you test the language? So for testing purpose, you as a developer can use the parameter, but how will the end user get that language file picked up automatically? That is based on the language selection on the Launchpad login screen. Okay, that is what will happen behind the scene. It picks up the file automatically. There is also another question. So role of KM is to create I8N and underscore language files. Absolutely right. If you are working as a KM in your company, what is your job? Just make a copy of this I8N properties, paste it with underscore language code, and then do the translation here. So you yourself can also do with the help of Google Translator, like we saw it here. But you see, it's also not always correct. You see, rating ko rating hi kar diya isne. Right? So like here, धूम्रपान ne karne, it's smoker, धूम्रपान करने वाला actually. That's what it should be, right? But here it has got धूम्रपान ne karne, something which is incorrect. As a Hindi expert, I can say it's incorrect. So this is why the KM role is very important in a company. But typically companies, managers, they are very like cost saving. So they don't do it. So in that case, there is a cost. Cost is inaccuracy, little bit of inaccuracy in the translation. So you can, of course, use Google Translator, or Babylon is another software which we use typically to translate these texts, and then you can put them. That's the job of KM guy. But you as a developer can also now do their work as well. Hope it's clear, guys. Hope you enjoyed the session today about I8N properties. In the next class onwards, we'll start with SAP Fiori introduction. With this, we announce 50% of our course. And by this, we also end the chapter, the phase of SAP UI5 framework. From the next class, I will start with introduction of SAP Fiori. And we are going to reuse these concepts, whatever we learned, binding type, binding mode, binding types, different variety of bindings, concepts of named model, concepts of I10N, base controller, scaffolding. All these we are going to learn as part of SAP Fiori in upcoming days. We'll see how the application structure for Fiori looks like, what are the types of Fiori apps, most important mobile controls like mobile list control. You have navigation for the list, object header, table, SAPM table, which you guys were asking me. All these things we're going to start from the next class onwards. Okay. There's a lot more to come up. This is just the beginning. We'll discuss about manifest, router, root match handler, component JS. There are lots of concepts which are yet to come. Please stay tuned for the sessions. Be regular. Keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep taking printout of this PPT. Carry with you to study up with the things. Time for your questions. Anybody, any questions? So Launchpad is via configuration. Yes, we have something called configuration for the Launchpad. So we will use something called Fiori Launchpad Designer. It's not covered in the current course. It's covered in my advanced Fiori course. Okay. Now show some power equal to function kill me something. I don't know, Yamini, what you mean to say. I didn't get your question, Yamini. You have posted some code, but I didn't get the meaning of that. Can you please unmute your line, Yamini, and speak up what you want to say with that piece of code? Is the correct statement hide the button and clicking on? Let me check that then. So she has put some code and asking, is it the correct one to hide the button? So we have function UI get code button object you got. If you're getting get visible, if it is true, make it false. Yeah, looks okay, Yamini. It should work ideally. Okay, it should work. Okay. If it is not working, please send me the code. your project via Google Drive, I will check it. Now, SAP Web ID will be used for SAP Fiori. Yes, we use SAP Web ID only to build Fiori applications. There are a lot more features which we are not yet explored for Web ID. We will be doing in coming days. I will make you expert in UI5 Fiori, but you guys have to be with me. You have to practice every day. Okay. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. Stay tuned. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much and goodbye.